An article in the latest Economist shows exactly how widespread the use of rape is in armed conflict. It also displays how, over the years, it has been quite overlooked, exactly how it was used to demonize and terrorize local populations, be they a tyrannical dictator or an invading force. The article gives various examples, like a Soviet retaliation against Nazi Germany, use by the Romans, and also uses by the Moroccan regulars during the Spanish Civil War. As the reporting of rapes during wartime have gotten more attention and we've now discovered better ways of reporting them, it was not until the Bosnian conflict that we became aware of exactly how widespread the problem was. It, however, took the UN Security Council until 2008 to actually recognize it as a crime of war. There was one section in the article that gave me pause. The article said that most of these rapes occurred in the uncivilized world. They said they were caused by ill-disciplined private militias or irregular armies. The following quote in the article shows exactly how this journal of elite opinion tries to bury the rape crimes of imperialist forces. At least in theory, the Geneva Conventions governing the treatment of civilians in war are respected by politicians and generals in decent states. Then, in the same paragraph, it attempts to pass off all the rapes onto irregular forces and ill-disciplined private militias. But in many parts of the world, the Hobbesian anarchy irregular war with all ill-disciplined private armies or militias, these norms carry little weight. Clearly, this article is attempting to whitewash the history of imperialist armies using rape as a form of terror and control. It also is very symbolic. They're taking the same position here with rapes that they do with global warming. Pass the buck onto the third world and blame the third world for what is happening. It is in fact true that imperialist armies often use rape as a way of controlling or terrorizing a population. In fact, during the Abu Ghraib scandal, men were sodomized, were raped with objects in attempts to make them talk. Also, in photos that were not released and covered up by the Obama administration, there were people, both men and women, being raped in Iraqi prisons by U.S. soldiers, attempting to make them speak. There were also many allegations of this taking place in Guantanamo Bay. Of course, all those who made light of this and brought it to the attention of the mainstream media were declared unpatriotic, and it was claimed that they hate their country. In late 2005, a woman known only as Nicole was raped by a U.S. soldier in a hotel room. The woman was a 22-year-old college student who was attending a friend's party when she was invited back to his hotel room. She was told that there would be other people there. When she arrived and it was just the two of them and she attempted to leave, he forced her to stay there and brutally raped her. As usual, given the visiting forces agreements between the United States and the Philippines, this soldier was not charged with any crime and in fact was let off with no charges. All he was forced to do was leave the country. On April 19, 2009, a similar incident took place. A Filipino woman who was a college student was raped by a U.S. Marine in another hotel room. This time, the Philippine National Police Force, managed to actually catch the rapist. However, because he was part of the visiting forces agreement in the Philippines, he was released, and no charges were filed against him. In order to make this embarrassing situation go away, the United States offered this woman, Vanessa, known only as Vanessa, 100,000 Filipino pesos and offer her a free U.S. citizenship if she would sign a statement contradicting the one she made to police. She was bought off and bribed so this embarrassing situation of a U.S. Marine raping a woman could be quietly buried. All of this took place while a woman, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, was the president of the Philippines. You would think, her being a woman, she would be more sympathetic to the situation, but she was not. She was more concerned with serving imperial interests. When it comes to incidents of rapes, the U.S. Army has no moral ground to stand on. A recent report detailed how 2/3 of all women serving in the U.S. military have been sexually assaulted at some point. Many women in the U.S. Army went to these investigators and told them of stories of where they've been sexually harassed, assaulted, and degraded by fellow soldiers. There's also been many reports of women who go to the latrine in pairs at night because they are genuinely afraid of being raped by fellow soldiers. And what is probably the final insult and the most degrading thing of all, it is a statistically proven fact that a woman in the U.S. Army has a greater chance of being raped by a fellow soldier than she does of being killed in combat. This same study also found that man-on-man sexual abuse was also very common. This has led to the creation of new terminology, MST, or military sexual trauma. This is a very unsubtle way of blaming the Third World and continuing to portray the Third World as uncivilized, and that it is up to us, the First World, to come in and civilize them for them. This is nothing more than First Worldist manifest destiny propaganda. The propaganda does not stop there, not at all. The author of the article even took the time to fraudulently claim that upward of 2 million women were raped by Soviet soldiers. In the same table, they also gave the stats for Japanese, Indian, Bosnian, and Sierra Leone, and Rwanda. How do I know that this claim that Soviet soldiers raped 2 million German women is hollow propaganda? Simple. By taking a look at the source for these rapes. The source for the alleged rapes? Themselves, right there at the bottom. Source, The Economist. This is utterly astounding, where one can make any claim possible and then simply quote themselves as a source. Well, I can play that game too. The following chart shows what kind of people write for The Economist. The source for this? The Maoist Rebel News. Interestingly and predictably, the article mentions no instance of rapes among the imperialist countries, or specifically the United States. It's as though first world nations do not have this problem at all. It appears, according to this article, that women in the first world are just fine, and it's only those evil, backward, ignorant third world countries where this kind of thing happens. Sad to say, this is nothing more than first worldist feminist propaganda. We are no better than the third world, and I don't appreciate the insinuation that the third world is such a horrible place.